And circumference, okay, is the distance around the outside of a circle. And you might say to me, I thought that was perimeter. Now, perimeter is the distance around outside of a polygon. A circle is not a polygon because it's not made of line segments. But basically, circumference is the same as perimeter, except it's for a circular figure and not for a figure made up of line segments. Now, to be honest with you, I've actually seen some books and I've seen some standardized tests and competitions where they ask you to find the perimeter of a circle. And if you ever see something that says find the perimeter of a circle, what they're really saying is find the circumference of a circle. Now, finding the circumference of a circle is very challenging, because if I had a circle, and again, I'm not the best artist in the world, but if I had a circle, even using that, I'm not the best artist in the world. But anyway, if I had a circle and I wanted the distance around the outside, that would be extremely difficult to measure with a ruler, because the circle is curved and the ruler is straight. So if you put your ruler on the circle, you're not going to get more than one point at a time as you go around. And you can't measure the round circle with a straight edge. And this caused mathematicians a great deal of difficulty for many, 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 many years. And then it was discovered that there was a relationship between the circumference of a circle and the diameter of this circle. And you say, wow, that's kind of complicated. Actually, it's really not as complicated as it sounds. Because what it's saying is, if you have a little teeny tiny circle, you have a little teeny tiny diameter. If you have a bigger circle, you have a bigger diameter. And if you have a real big circle, you have a real big diameter. And you go, well, no, duh. Any idiot would know that. And again, maybe it is kind of obvious, but I think the thing that is so wild and so neat, okay, is that mathematicians through the years have spent time trying to measure the circumference and measure the diameter of a circle. Now, it's really easy to measure the diameter of a circle because it's a line segment. You can measure it with a ruler. And the circle has been challenging to measure. But you could do things like mathematicians have done things like take a string and put it on the outside and then open the string up. Except it's hard getting it exactly on the outside. Okay, and again, nowadays, at the time when I was a kid, there was something called a Remco Roll-O-Matic, and it was a little ruler that you could roll around and measure distance with. So I guess if you had a Roll-O-Matic, you could roll around and measure the distance. But regardless, the amazing thing, at least it's amazing to me, the amazing thing is that whether it was this teeny tiny circle or a bigger circle or the circle the size of a Superdome, no matter what circle it is, if you were to find the circumference of the circle and divide it by the diameter, okay, it always comes out to equal the same number. And that number is actually 3.1415972, and it continues on forever. It never ends and it never repeats. It just keeps going on and on. And no one has ever actually really found out exactly what pi equals. And since we really don't know what it equals, what do we use to represent something we don't know? We use a variable. So people represent pi with a variable, okay? But they don't use a letter like X or N or A, B, C, X, Y, Z. They use a Greek letter. And you go, a Greek letter? Why would they use a Greek letter? And I say because the person who discovered pi was a Greek. And the Greek letter they use is pi. And that's a letter in the Greek alphabet. By the way, it's spelled P-I, not P-I-E. We're not going to eat apple pie in here, okay? And again, pi is approximately, that little dot there, 3 14/100 if you round it to the nearest hundredth. And that's what we're going to use for pi, is 3 14/100. So what winds up happening is circumference divided by diameter is equal to pi. okay? And again, you say, what good does that do me? I don't even really know what pi is. I know what it roughly is, but that's not helping me any. Well, if I wanted to find circumference, I'd want to get circumference by itself, right? And to get circumference by itself, how would I get rid of dividing by d? I would do the opposite to both sides. And what's the opposite of dividing by d? Multiplying by d on both sides. So if I multiply by d on both sides, it would cancel on this side, leaving me circumference. And that would give me pi times diameter. So that's the formula for circumference of a circle. Circumference is equal to pi times diameter. By the way, since we learned just a little bit ago that diameter is equal to 2 times the radius, if I wanted, I could say circumference is equal to 2 pi times the radius, because twice the radius is the same as the diameter. So now, if I gave you a circle, and I told you that the diameter was 9 centimeters, and I asked you to find circumference, you would go to this formula. So the circumference is equal to pi times diameter. And then you would replace pi with 3 14/100ths, and you would replace the diameter with 9 centimeters. And if you multiply 3 14/100ths times 9, 36 carry your 3, 12 carry your 1, 27 and 1 is 28. 2 place me on the decimal problem, 2 place me on the decimal answer. You get 28 and 26/100ths centimeters. And again, if you know the formula, circumference is equal to pi times diameter, you just have to replace the variable pi with 3 14/100ths and replace the diameter with whatever it is. Now, what if I was to give you a figure like this and tell you that the radius is 9 centimeters? Now, if I want to use the formula circumference equal to pi times diameter, pi is 3 14/100ths, what's the diameter? It's not 9 centimeters, it's actually 18 centimeters. Because remember, diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. And since the radius is 9, 2 times 9 would give me 18. So again, to find the circumference this time, 3 14/100ths times 18, that would be 32 carry your 3, 11 carry your 1,